How do you travel with a cat in an RV? That's one of the most common questions we get in our inbox or when people see Avenger in the window or exploring the world outside. We've been traveling with Avenger for more than 3 years in our RV now, and even though we didn't plan on having an RV cat, he's now a huge part of our adventures. Actually, he's such a huge part of our travel that people will ask about if he's okay if we forget to post about him on social media for a while, so he's a part of our family now. One day a young couple came up to us at a parking lot outside the supermarket, and after I've seen Avenger, they said, is it okay that we ask about a few questions about how it is to travel with an RV cat, because they were also dreaming about traveling in an RV, and they had a cat, and the woman, she had been reading a lot of things on the internet, but she wasn't quite sure yet about how to implement all these things and if they were real. So that was when I decided that it's time to make a video about how it actually is to live with a cat in an RV, and what things to remember and what things to be prepared for. And this is why you're watching this video, because I hope that I can answer all the questions you might have. If you're planning on traveling with your cat too, then please leave me a cat emoji in the comments. And if you have any more questions, no matter how small they are, then leave them in the comments too, and I'll answer them as good as I can. In this video, I'll cover everything from litterbox and other basic essentials for an RV cat to the dangers there also is, and also what not to worry about. So lean back and enjoy. I promise you that in the end of this video, traveling with an RV cat won't seem so scary anymore. A lot of people ask us about the litter box that we have for Avenger. There are a lot of great options out there, but we don't have that much space, so we just have this one by the door, and pooper scooper close by, and also for sweeping up the sand, because there will be sand out here. We have this one with an edge, so he can't put too much sand on the floor, but he does it eventually anyway. The pooper scooper we use when we're out where we can throw a poop outside, and otherwise we use these bags for dog poops and just collect a poop in that one. He wants to be around me all the time. He's a little bit picky about the kind of sand that he uses, and because we're traveling, we sometimes find it hard to find sand that is actually great and that doesn't leave a smell. Right now we are in Spain, and we are using the one from Mercadona. Mercadona has two kinds, one with perfume and one without, and could you just please shut up? No, you don't know what you want, do you? No. Mercadona has two kinds of the cheap kind of cat litter, one with perfume and one without. Avenger doesn't like the one with perfume, and actually we don't either, but both absorb the odors, so this one is gonna last for a few days at least. If you just remove the poop right away, then we don't have any problems with smelling neither from pee or poop. So we tried there's some sort of crystals that you can put in the sand to make it smell better, but he simply refused to use the litter box when they were in. I don't think he knew what they were, so we quit doing that. We tried it once. Now he's just sitting here yelling because I don't have full attention on him. No, I don't have time for you all the time. So that was a little about the litter box, but there are a ton of other great options out there on the internet, and I wish that we could implement some of them, because it's a little annoying. It's standing here in front of the cupboard, but that's where we have the space for it. So if you have more space, then use one of these options, because some of them are really cool. Avenger's leash is just a regular flex line with 5 meters of line on it. The only thing special about this is that we changed this one when he got it, because the hook here, it was a super heavy hook, and he was so small and he was learning how to use the leash, and this one was just laying on his back, so he felt the weight from it all the time. Cats are sensitive animals, so we changed this one to a lightweight one in aluminium, and he was pleased with that from the beginning. And on the flex line we have this one, because we need to be able to fasten him just about everywhere that we come, when we take a walk with him or when he's just sitting outside the motorhome. On the back of the motorhome is a great place to put the line, so we can be there if we're sitting outside, or if there's something exciting to look at. And right here in the mirror, that's also a place that he's sitting very often. But actually the place that he is most often, that's just inside the door. So he can be in the hook and go outside. You need to have the hook on you, my dear. As you may have noticed, Avenger only wears a collar and not a harness like you see many other cats do. I think that if I started out with a cat who didn't have the same story as Avenger, and having been born inside the RV, I think I would use a harness too, but Avenger has never tried anything else but the collar. But if you decide on using a harness for your cat, then make sure that it's the lightest, both in weight and in thickness, that you can find, because I often see cats with some sort of big harness, probably made for dogs, because it often says canine or something on them, and the fabric is really thick and so on. And if you, like us, travel in warm areas, I can imagine that it's so bad for the cat to wear a big harness. Avenger has a travel bag like this one, and to be honest, I am too lazy to go out and take it out from everything that we have in storage under the Heimer, because right now we are not using it. Once in a while we go back to Denmark and by airplane, and having him with us inside the airplane demands a certain type of travel bag. So this one is the kind of travel bag that we're using. It folds easily, so it can be stored away when not using it, but sometimes we also use it for something else, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit later why it's super important to have a travel bag that your cat actually likes. He really likes this travel bag because it's been with him ever since he was a little kitten, so have a travel bag for your cat that it enjoys, because you can use it on several occasions that I'll tell you about a bit later. The last essential for living with a cat in an RV is, of course, food and water bowls, but I'm not gonna get into that because food for a cat is so individual. What Avenger needs is probably not the same that your cat needs or likes, so you're on your own there. A lot of people have concerns about traveling with a cat versus dangerous animals in nature. And to be honest, Avenger has never, even though that he's sometimes running free, he has never been hurt by any dangerous animal. In 3 years, he's been stung by a bee a few times, and now he has learned it. And then he's been bitten in the lip by a rat. he learned by that one too. I think cats have an instinct that tells them not to encounter really dangerous animals. I googled it, and it's called aposematic coloration, when animals have these bright colors like yellow or red, so other animals don't touch them. And I think that's what Avenger sees too. So he doesn't eat any poisonous animals or anything. These days he loves to play with small snakes and lizards and geckos, and the other day he was playing with cockroaches. I know a lot of people think that cockroaches are disgusting, but they're just bugs like anything else. I think it's the surroundings around the cockroaches that are disgusting. Otherwise he's just watching birds, or as you see here, trying to catch lizards. I guess somewhere out there he sees a lizard. Sometimes he sees things that I can't see. But that's one of his many outdoor toys. He could just, he's gonna jump out there, I think. That's okay, as long as he doesn't take it inside. All in all, you shouldn't let your disgust for snakes or lizards or cockroaches, for that matter, decide what is fun for your cat. He or she will find out what's dangerous and what isn't. Of course, there are some exceptions. I don't know if they're called procession larvae in English, but these are some larvae that are in Spain, and they are marching each year like this in a row, and they are actually pretty dangerous for animals, because if they get scared, they throw away this fur-like thing they have on their body, and these are filled with poison and can get into the airways of the cats or dogs or any other animals, and really do some serious damage. So keep your cat away from this kind of animal. Luckily they are only here once a year, marching like this. So of course there are some dangerous animals, but don't be afraid, because normally the cat will decide what is dangerous and not. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't be aware of what's in your surroundings, because of course there can be bigger animals such as boar or deer or bears or wolves or things like that, that you should keep your cat away from. Especially here where we are, there are boars, and when they have young ones, they are super dangerous, not only to us, but also to animals like cats, for instance. Otherwise, Avenger is just mostly looking at foxes or rabbits or big birds. He's super afraid of seagulls and every bird that's too big, but like you see here, he loves to look at bigger animals such as this fox, and he's not going close to it or anything because he knows it's dangerous. So don't worry too much, the cat will find out what is dangerous. Avenger's medicine cabinet is pretty limited. First of all, he has this one. I think it's international. This brand called Frontline. It's for fleas. If he gets any fleas, that doesn't happen very often, but it has happened a few times, and it's good to have. And this one is super efficient. You just spray a little in his fur and make sure not to hit his head, and then the fleas will be gone in no time. And you can also use it on your furniture and pillows and such if you have it. So this one we have, and then this one. This is the most important thing we have for Avenger. This is for a special tweezer for removing ticks, because even though it doesn't happen very often, it does happen. And this one was gifted to me by a good friend many years ago, so I also used it on the cat I had back home in Denmark, because I hate ticks. I think they are the most horrible animal hilarious. So this one is a great one, and you just grab around the tick right down by the skin, and then you twist it around, and then you pull it out. So this one is my favorite thing in Avenger's medicine cabinet. And this one is not quite for medicine, but make sure to have a good brush for your cat when you're traveling with it, because otherwise when they are changing fur in the winter or in the summer, you are gonna have cat hair all over. And I could imagine if you have a cat with long hair, it's the same. This one is great for Avenger, and he actually loves being brushed with this one. We bought it because this year his changing of fur for the summer was horrible, and we had cat hair in the food and in the bed and in our face and everywhere all the time. But this one was super efficient, and even though he doesn't need it these days, he still enjoys a good brushing once in a while. So these three things are Avenger's medicine cabinet, and that's all that we need. Most of the time we are traveling where it's warm, because that's our mission, to travel with the sun. And having a cat in an RV in very warm weather takes some work, because Avenger can't decide for himself whether it's hot or too hot for him. So we have to be the ones who decide. If we don't, we tried that twice, that he's gotten a heat stroke, and it's not at all funny. If your cat gets a heat stroke, then cool him or her down right away with either these blocks from the freezer that you use for picnics, or simply putting water to their fur. One of the things that we have to cool Avenger down when it's really warm is his cooling mat. This is actually a not expensive one, bought in a pet store. We had a really cheap one, but it was so thin. So what you have to remember is that you need to feel this gel that's inside is thick, and that it's easy to clean off with a damp cloth or something. Make sure that you never leave the cooling mat directly in the sun, because as lovely as it gets cold when it's not in the sun, it really gets warm when it's in the sun, because the gel heats up inside. So keep it away from the sun. A bonus tip is that if you as a human being have really warm feet, then you just need to put them on the cooling mat. It's great. So put it on the floor and sit there with your feet on them if you are about to have a heat stroke or something, or just need cold feet. We also keep these freezer elements that you use for picnics and such in the freezer, and then we just wrap it up in a kitchen towel and for him to lay on to. This is when it's really hot, so it's a good option. When we're having Avenger outside and it's warm outside, we are of course aware of that he has to have some shadow that he can crawl into, and often there's a draft under the RV, which is great for him to lay in. And he is a Spanish cat, so he's used to heat, but sometimes it still gets too hot for him. This is actually what he looked like the last time that he had a heat stroke. It wasn't funny at all for him, and also not for us, because it's pretty scary to see your cat in a state where he's breathing very heavily and meowing a lot and really feeling bad. Also remember that it's an absolute no-go to go outside with your cat and walk on the pavement or on asphalt or sand for that matter when it's really hot, because if you look at this chart, you'll see how hot it is for paws to walk, even when the air feels okay. Avenger doesn't really have many toys because he doesn't really care about toys. We bought a lot in the beginning because we thought that they were funny, and the one with catnip in and everything, but he doesn't find them interesting. So his favorite toys are, first of all, Mr. Owl here, that he's fighting with, because yeah, from the start we taught him how to fight, and he really enjoys it. And then curl up tickets from the supermarket or straws. He's a huge fan of straws. All in all, I don't think you need a lot of toys for your cat unless your cat is, yeah, a toy cat. But Avenger isn't, so find out what you think is important. I promised you that I'd get back to the travel bag, and even though we don't use it that often anymore, except from when we're traveling by airplane, we still use it if we go visit people. For instance, when we spent New Year's with some friends, we brought the travel bag, so Avenger still had his own safe place where he could crawl up into, even though he didn't know the apartment that they were living in. We also bring the travel bag when we go to cafes and bring Avenger too, because then we can fasten his leash on the travel bag or at a leg for the chair nearby, and then we keep the travel bag open so he can jump into it if he wants to, and otherwise he can walk around, because then he always have his own safe space that he can jump into, and if everything gets too dangerous in his eyes, or if he just needs to rest. So the travel bag is always the cat's safe space, and keep it that way. If you don't want to pack it away all the time like we do in storage, then keep it there open all the time and leave it somewhere nice in the RV so the cat can sleep in it or play in it or just relax and have a good time inside the travel bag. Avenger simply loves to travel. He's actually the one that, if we stay in a place too long, he's sometimes the one that comes and say, "Hey, I've been here too long. I'm bored of this place. Let's get out of here." Avenger's story is a bit special, and some of you might have seen the video about how we ended up with an RV cat. And if you don't, I'll link to the video at the end of this one. When it comes to driving with your cat, you can choose to put your cat in the travel bag at all times, or you can choose to have the cat on a leash. We checked up with the police here in Europe, and it's actually allowed to have your cat on the leash inside the RV, as long as it doesn't bother the driver, of course, and it has to be on a leash, not because the cat can't run away if you are in a car accident, but because they don't want the cat to run out on the street and cause even more trouble if there is a car accident. So it has actually nothing to do with the cat, but other drivers that might be on the road. So we always have Avenger on his leash, as you've seen in several of our videos now probably, and we keep him away from Malte when he is driving. I don't have a driver's license, so I'm the cat caretaker. His leash gives him the ability to walk around in the motorhome RV as it pleases him, and he can also reach his litterbox and his food and everything. So for us, this is a great option, and it's actually allowed as long as you keep the cat away from the driver. There are two signs of stress when it comes to a cat. The first one is that the cat doesn't clean itself and it starts pooping and peeing everywhere, and the fur is disgusting and the cat is smelling. And the second option, which I actually tried with my cat back home in Denmark, is that it gets over obsessive about cleaning itself. I had a first storage store built on my house, so I had a lot of handymen running around and changing the surroundings all the time for a while. And my cat back home, it got so stressed that it actually started licking itself all the time, over obsessing about cleaning itself. So it ended up losing fur on all of the stomach and everything. And that was because the surroundings were changing all the time. So keep safe places and nice corners and a nice bed and everything great for your cat in the RV, so you avoid having stress, because it's not good for the cat. And as I said, either you can end up have a cat pooping everywhere, or you can end up with a hairless cat. So avoid it for everything in the world. One of Avenger's favorite hiding spots is up here. When he wants to be all alone and away from the world, he crawls up here, and he didn't discover it until 3 years after he was born. But then he began, I don't know if you can see it here, but then he began to ruin the leather. So we just bought a cheap doormat and fastened it in here, so he can now use his claws to get up here. In the morning he sometimes sits here on the headrest and just stretch up here, because that's good for him in the morning. So that's a great tip for you. A cheap doormat can also be used as maybe find some stick or something and wrap it around, and then it's a great scratching post. So it's cheap. I think €5 we paid for this one. It's ugly too, but that's how it is. One thing to make your cat feel safe is actually routines. Avenger has a few routines. For instance, around 3 o'clock we serve some kind of wet food for him, mostly from the refrigerator to cool him down also, but also because it's tradition. And if we forget that it's 3 o'clock, then he's gonna mention it for us. And when he comes in the evening, he gets a snack, because then he knows that this is what we do when you get in the evening. It was actually my intention to include in this video how you train your cat to become an RV cat, but I realized that the video would be hours long if I put this in here. So I am working on a video right now that will come out very shortly after this one, on how to train your cat. So hit that subscribe button and also the bell, and then you get a notification next time that I post something, and it will probably be the one about how you train your cat. Whew, this was a long video, but I did promise you the ultimate guide, right? If you still have questions, please let me know in the comments. Nothing is too small when it comes to the best life for your future RV cat. And if you want to follow our adventure through Europe, please click the subscribe button. It means a lot to us. It really, really, really means a lot to us. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.